Google Craftsman is pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 AGM for the Red Deer and District Museum Society. We're so glad you could join us. My name is Shelley Odishaw, and I'm the president of the board of directors. It is my pleasure to call the 2022 AGM to order. As we start this meeting, I would like to acknowledge that what we call Red Deer is the traditional and ancestral territory of many peoples presently included in Treaty 6 and 7. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived on and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for and pay respect to the traditional knowledge keepers and elders, past, present, and emerging. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. I am striving in the spirit of the treaties to keep this a place of trust, friendship, and promise. Hi. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping. Everybody would have walked past the bathrooms as you came in, so I don't need to really give directions there. The AGM is being live streamed and will be available on the museum's YouTube channel later. So in order to make a motion or second a motion, please use the purple card that you were given when you checked in. We will need you to clearly state your name along with I move or I second. If Kirsten throws something at me, that means we need you to tell us how to spell your name. So all members who were in good standing 60 days in advance of today are eligible to vote, and there's only one vote per membership. Our quorum requirement is 12, and we have reached our voting quorum for tonight. The credentials report shall serve as a credentials report for the entirety of the meeting. And everyone would have gotten an agenda as you walked in. So the first motion that I'm going to ask is, may I have a motion that the agenda for the 2022 Red Deer and District Museum Society be adopted as presented?
Aldine Callan.
Thank you, Baldine. And a seconder?
Lauren Pizzella.
Thank you, Lauren. All in favor? And that motion has passed. Thank you. The 2021 AGM minutes were sent to all members prior to the meeting. Are there any questions or comments regarding the minutes as you received them? Okay. In that case, may I have a motion that the draft minutes from the May 20th, 2021 Red Deer and District Museum Society AGM be approved as presented?
Lauren Pizzella.
Say it fast. You have to say your name.
Oh, Margaret.
Thank you, Marguerite. All in favor? Thank you. So, my president's report tonight is rather short. I want to get this meeting in the bag. So, I would like to thank the MAG board for their generous donation of time, wisdom, and support. My colleagues include the long-serving Marguerite Watson, who has been my buddy through all of this craziness of the last couple of years. Stefan Pilon, Jeremy Moore, Elena Rousseau, Leslie Crawford, Matt Gould, Baldine Callan, Lauren Pizzella, and City Council Liaison Kramer Barnstable, who is unfortunately not with us tonight. I would also like to thank Amy Stixba, who left the board a short time ago. The past year has been a time of intense transition and learning. Through 2021, the staff's dedication and creativity ensured that what happened at the MAG was seen in our community and around the world. The board effusively thanks the staff for their commitment, support, and adaptability. We saw our staff oversee amazing exhibits and programs within the walls of the MAG. We also saw them volunteer at many events, including the first annual International Powwow held in Red Deer. Our members and donors continue to participate in programming, both in person and virtually. External funders continue to support the museum, allowing for quick pivots when required. The City of Red Deer continues to partner with and support the museum through this time of transition, and we thank them very much. A copy of the Red Deer Museum and Art Gallery's annual report was on the table as you entered and has been posted on our website. We are thrilled to share this snapshot of what has been quite the year for the Red Deer Museum and District Art Gallery. So, looking into 2022, it is difficult for me to announce that Dr. Scott Marsden, and the Red Deer and District Museum Society Board have agreed to part ways. The board thanks Dr. Marson for his time with us and wishes him all the best. For the time being, we have a fantastic group of staff who will collaboratively be acting as the interim executive director. Collections coordinator Melanie Burnt, exhibitions coordinator Kim Berrier, marketing coordinator Carly Kendall, and education coordinator Lynn Lepore is actually off in training in Saskatoon right now. So we are grateful that they are taking these extra responsibilities while all of our options are being considered. And at this point, I get to pass it off to my Secretary Treasurer, Jeremy Moore.
We'll bring the treasury report forward. I'd like to introduce Grant Stang there with RSM for the audited report for 2021.
I'm going to take over on running the laptop. So thank you for having me out this evening. I am Grant Stangy with RSM CPAs here in Red Deer, and we did complete the audit of the museum's financial statements for the year 2021. Audit report is set out in here. It's we do believe that these statements represent fairly the financial position and results of the operations of the society for the year ended December 31st, 2021. We do have one qualification. The qualification's been there for as long as I've been auditing, which has been a long time, and that's just around donation revenue. We can't do any work that actually can confirm what the total donation should be. We know what's recorded in the records is right, but because we can't assess the completeness of that number, we add this qualification in, and that qualification is common with a lot of smaller nonprofit organizations. So it's not really anything to be concerned about. It's just a limitation on what I can do. The rest of the auditor's report just goes through a number of things that we have to do, what management's responsibility is, and what our audit responsibilities are. So you're welcome to review that later on. But overall, it's really a good audit report for the museum. Moving over the statement of financial position. So this is a snapshot of the assets of the museum versus the liabilities at December 31st. Total assets were $2.7 million, an increase of $1 million over last year. And you can see most of that's in cash and accounts receivable. So the museum's in a very healthy financial position at December 31st. You'll see the increase in the tangible capital assets, and that was the acquisition of shelving and computer equipment. And the collection assets went up as well. And that was the appraisal on the Moore donation being completed. So we had a value to assign to it and recognize in the financial statements. On the liability side, really no significant changes in the museum's liabilities. Trade payables, which are just bills being paid after the year end, were $73,695. And then we have deferred contributions of $404,758. And then what the deferred contributions represent is just grants primarily that have been received, but they have restrictions on them. So they're recognized into revenue when those restrictions are met. And so they're encompassed into the cash that's on hand. You have your Canadian Emergency Business Account loan, which was paid down a little bit, and then the unamortized deferred capital contributions. And what that number represents is items that have been donated to the society in the past, and we match it off to the capital assets, the tangible capital assets, just to ensure you don't have a big income statement or statement of operations impact. So the museum finishes the year with net assets of $1,584,592. Questions out of there before I move on? The next statement just kind of summarizes how the net assets changed over the prior year. The first line being coming down that total column, the $303,365 was excess of revenues over expenditures or surplus for the year. And then backing out to the other columns there, how that breaks down between capital assets and unrestricted. Recognizing the contributed collections assets under the collections column, of 444,987. And then we had some transfers between unrestricted funds and reserves by the board. So some technology money that was set aside was spent, and out of this year's surplus, $300,000 was put into reserve for future projects. And the restrictions are described in note 3. And then the last line just being the small changes in capital assets. So breaking down the total there, the museum has $359,151 in unrestricted funds available to it, a net investment into tangible capital of $94,872, investment into collections of $830,569, and internally restricted funds of $300,000. For the next statement is this statement of operations, which is revenue and expenses of the museum for the year. Again, fairly consistent with 2020, but revenue was $1,795,973. Expenditures were $1,492,606, getting down to that excess of revenue over expenses of $303,366. And really no change in how the revenues or expenses break down. Most of the revenues, the bulk of the revenue coming from the City of Red Deer funding and government assistance, and then various other sources. Your largest expenditure being wages and benefits. Your next statement is your statement of cash flows, which just provides a different presentation on where funds came from and how they were utilized. So from operations for the year of the operating activities, there was $404,177 generated. You invested $325,995 on a net basis, and how that was covered or helped finance that was $284,928 in contributions. So net increase in cash of $363,110 for the year. From there, you get into notes to the financial statements, which I will run through. They do provide the accounting policies of the society and additional support for a number of the balances in the financial statements, but be happy to answer any questions anybody has at this time.
Grant, the increase in assets of $1 million, this is basically not cash.
It's not, no, it's not cash. That's right. The bulk of it was the donated artwork driving that increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very moving.
Thank you again for the report. With that, I'd like to move a motion. May I have a motion that the Red Deer and District Museum Society's 2021 audited financial statement be approved as presented? A mover? Lyman? Seconder? Lorna? All in favor? It carries. Thank you. So there was a significant increase in going forward for the cost of doing yearly audit. So the board commissioned a competitive bid process. Out of that competitive bid process, Pivotal LLP has won the bid. So with that, the board would like to recommend the motion that Pivotal LLP be approved as the auditors for the fiscal 2022. I need a mover.
Lauren Casella.
And a seconder. Marguerite Watson. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. I'll turn over to Shelley.
Okay, thank you, Director Boomer. Our bylaws allow us to have between 9 and 12 board members. We currently have 9 members who will be returning, as well as 1 new board member. At this time, we would like to add Lauren Casella to the board. Lauren, are you present and do you accept the nomination?
I am, and I do.
Thank you, Lauren. May I have a motion that the nomination of Lauren Casella to Director of the Red Deer and District Museum Society Board be approved as presented?
Aldine Cowan.
And a seconder?
Stephen there.
Thank you, Stephen. And all in favor? And that motion is passed. Welcome to the board, Director Pizzella. You heard from Acting Secretary Treasurer Moore a few minutes ago. As you can see, he is an integral member of our board, and even though his term is up, we would like to keep him for another year. So, Jeremy Moore, are you present and do you agree to a one-year extension of your term?
Yes, and yes, please.
Okay. May I have a motion that the term extension of 1 year for Director Jeremy Moore of the Red Deer and District Museum Society be approved as presented?
Not go.
Thank you, Matt. And the seconder?
Lauren Gisella.
Thank you, Lauren. All in favor? And that motion is passed. You are with us for another year. So now we will move on to the slate of executive officers as selected by the board. It feels kind of weird being the one to do this when my name is on there. So may I have a motion that the slate of executives, President Shelley Odishaw, Vice President Stéphane Pilon, and Secretary Treasurer Jeremy Moore be approved as presented?
Lauren Gisella.
And a seconder?
Leslie Crawford.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. That motion has passed. So at this time, we would like to update the Society's signatories. With the changes to the positions of Vice President and Secretary Treasurer, we would like to thank and remove the previous signatories and add the new executive officers. So may I please have a motion for the removal of current signatories Leslie Crawford and Elena Rousseau, and the addition of new signatories Stéphane Pilon and Jeremy Moore?
Lauren Gisella.
And a seconder? Marguerite Watson, thank you. And all in favor? And that motion is passed. Thank you. So I should have talked slower because, oh, she is here. Okay. I don't know, is she ready for me to introduce her or do I need to like give it a minute? Just wrap it up? Okay. So I would like to thank you for your time, attention, and commitment to the Red Deer and District Museum. That wraps up the official portion of our AGM, and I call the 2022 Red Deer and District Museum Society AGM adjourned. There we go.